Hello, I'm Sharyn Sarner, and it is Thursday, May the 28th, 2014. I'm at the home of some special guests, Patty and George Sarner, who are going to be interviewed today on behalf of the Jewish Historical Society of Fairfield County. Okay, Patty, we're going to start with you. Where were you born
In Stamford,
and when?
July 30th, 1933.
Okay. Who were your parents
Lil and Dave Sloman.
and where were they born?
My mother was born in Stamford. My father was born in Norwalk, I think.
Okay. What did your father do?
He was an oral surgeon.
Right, in Stanford?
Yep.
Yep. And what did your mother do?
As far as a career, I don't know of anything. I don't think anything.
So she stayed home.
Yeah.
She's a housewife.
Right.
And you have some interesting family background. Tell us a little bit about your grandparents. You had some interesting grandparents, correct?
Oh, I don't know. Interesting. My mother's parents.
Yes. What were their names?
Uh,
The last name was Silver, right?
oh, Silver. Yeah.
Yeah, what was
but
that?
I'm trying to think of my grandmother's first name. My grandfather's name was Isaac Silver.
Isaac Silver.
Anna, I think her
Okay.
name was.
Okay. And were they born in this country? Do you know?
I don't think so.
Okay. But what did they do in this country? What kind of business did they have?
A soda business.
And where was that soda business?
On Washington Avenue in Stamford, or Washington Boulevard.
Which is right,
Yeah.
right. And what was the soda business called?
Polo Club.
Right, which is really interesting. And I understand he was a seltzer man. That's what people called your grandfather, correct?
Oh,
Yeah.
that I don't know.
It was Verona Springs.
Oh, I think you're right.
It was called Verona Springs?
Yeah.
Okay. And what kind of soda did he make?
All flavors,
Mhm.
and ginger ale, and
Sherry Cole.
sherry cola, not Coca-Cola.
So when you were growing up, was that the popular soda in Stanford, to your knowledge, or was it just local?
It was
very-
local. It was local.
Local.
Yeah.
And maybe surrounding towns. I don't
Right.
know.
Right. So do you have interesting memories of going to their soda factory or anything of that
Oh,
sort?
theirs, yeah. And
Yeah.
they bring it to our house all the time.
And do you remember how long they had that business for, approximately? Their entire adult lives, to your knowledge?
Oh, yeah.
Or- yeah. Did they sell it to anyone when they just kind
You
of
think
disappeared?
so?
No.
No?
Eventually they closed it.
They closed it. Okay. Okay. Now your parents were also pretty interesting. Your father in college did something interesting, right? Wasn't he?
Oh, he was a boxer.
He was a boxer, right?
Yeah.
And what did he do in Stanford? What was his profession?
Oral surgeon.
Right. And they had some very interesting friends that I recall.
Yeah.
Correct? Tell us about some of their friends.
Well, I don't even know how it happened, but they used to go to New York twice a week, and my father was friendly with a lot of sports writers, and for the New York papers, there were a lot in those days,
Right.
and they'd go to boxing matches at Madison Square Garden,
Right.
and they'd eat at a restaurant in those days that was called Toots Shor's,
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of the athletes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, who else did we know other than, say, Billy Seuss or...
There's somebody famous who lived in Greenwich that your parents were really friendly with. A radio announcer?
Oh, Mel Allen. Yeah. No, he didn't live in Greenwich.
But how did they become friendly with Mel Allen? Do you know? Was it through this sports group or?
Probably.
Well, his original name was Mel Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Mel Allen Israel. Melvin Allen Israel.
But they were close friends, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And was he like a fixture in your household as a child? Did you remember him coming over and being with your parents, or
I don't know, or when we were married.
or did they go out more with him?
We would see them before we were married.
Yeah.
His
Yeah.
parents lived in Pound Ridge,
Yeah.
and they had a
Well, he
home.
bought them a house in Pound Ridge.
Right.
Oh,
And
really?
they had a home, and they had the whole Yankee team up once a year for a big barbecue, and they invited us up a couple of times.
That must have been pretty exciting.
It was very
Yeah.
interesting.
Wow, that's really neat.
Every year. Once a year?
Once a year.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very
They were
interesting.
like movie stars. the
Of
ball
course,
players.
absolutely. No, that was the celebrities of the time.
Right.
Right? Now tell us about your kind of education. Where did you go to school in Stanford, Patty? Do you
I
remember?
went to all the public schools.
Yeah.
That's why I have a good sense of value.
Right.
My parents used to say to me, "Do you want to go to Low Haywood?" And I said, "No, I want to stay in the public schools." So I went all through the schools that are no longer in existence,
Oh,
other
really?
than Stanford High School still is.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And then you went to college, correct?
Yes,
And where'd you go?
Skidmore,
For how long?
2 years, because then we got married. That's what you did in our day.
Exactly. Exactly. Now, describe. Did your mother have a Jewish home? Did she have holidays at your house when you were growing up? Describe
Yes, well,
family
we started
events.
out, my grandparents had a house on Washington Avenue in front of the factory,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember, I don't know if you went
I
there.
went a couple of times.
Yeah, as a kid,
Really?
I used to go to all the holidays at my grandparents' house.
Wow.
And then my mother took over.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took over.
Right. Right. So, anything special about those holidays? I mean, that you recall aside from where you were? Any unique, anything different? Any customs or any foods that were
No.
just special?
Well, the food was, my grandmother used to do all the cooking, I think.
Was she a good cook?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. And yes. That. Now, tell us about getting married and starting a family. Now, you've known your husband for a few years, I think,
Yes,
right?
only a few.
How old do you think you were when you met him? I know. Do you remember how old?
Teenager, huh?
Right, you were
15.
Yeah.
15. That's amazing. And I heard he was your date for your Sweet 16 party. Is that
Oh,
correct?
yeah.
That is amazing.
He was
That's,
my date.
that's quite amazing. I'm going to jump to George now.
Good.
So, well, you can chime in on George. George chimed in on you. George, where were you born?
Born in Mount Vernon
And when?
in 1931, August 7th, 1931.
And why were you in Mount Vernon? Born in Mount Vernon?
Because my mother and father lived in Stanford, but I guess she was from Mount Vernon originally. Whether she thought they had better baby delivery service there than they would in Stanford Hospital.
All right.
So they went to New Haven to have me and then back to Stanford. They never lived in Mount Vernon at all.
That's funny. Now, who were your parents?
Dorothy and Milton Sarner.
And who were their parents? You were named after a grandfather, correct?
Right. Yes.
Who's
I never knew their
Oh,
parents.
really?
No, because their parents, my father was the youngest of 5 or 6,
Wow.
and they were deceased by the time I was born.
And where was your father born?
New York City,
Oh, really? Okay. And where was your mother born?
Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon. Wow. How did your parents come to Stanford? Do you know?
Well, my father's brother started a store, I think in Mount Vernon originally, and they wanted to expand the store. It was sort of a clothing store, credit. People paid so much a week. There were no finance charges in those days, but they would buy something and pay $10 a week until it was paid off. And my father wanted to go in the business, and they said, well, there's no room there, so we'll open another store. So they opened a walk-up store in Stamford, Connecticut. And they would go, actually some of the collections they would do, they'd go door to door to the people to collect money from them rather than have them come to the store.
Wow. That's different.
Yes.
And where was the store located?
Well, it started on Main Street as a walk-up store over
Mhm.
existing store, and as the business grew, he was able to rent up space on Atlantic Street, and that grew from one store to he took the store next door and made it larger and larger, and then they moved down to where they finally ended up as 184 Atlantic Street
And
in
what
the
was
middle of the town.
Right. And what was it called?
It was Sarner's department
Yeah.
store.
Yeah.
That building is currently owned by Richard Silver, who also was born in Stanford, who's an attorney,
Right.
cousin of Patty's.
And your son's office is there.
Right.
So tell us about your early life. Where did you go to school in Stanford?
Well, I started school in Stanford in Chopin at, I forgot the name of the school already, Rogers School. I went to kindergarten at Rogers School. And we moved to Glenbrook. I went to Stark School. I went to Stark School through 1st through 8th grade. And then I went to King School from 9th to 12th grade.
And then you went to college. Where
I
did you
went
go?
to, I went to Dartmouth College,
Mhm.
and I was in the Navy program at Dartmouth College,
Mhm.
and I was graduated and commissioned in the Navy, and eventually sent to Newport, Rhode Island.
And how long were you in the Navy?
2 years.
2 years. And were you single at the time, or?
I got married when I got stationed to Newport, Rhode Island. We got married.
So you started out your married life in Rhode Island, right?
In, yeah, Newport, Rhode Island.
How was that?
Navy base.
How was that for you?
Converted Navy barracks.
How was that for you, Patty? Was that
It was fine.
it was okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She had a Cub Scout group, I think.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No, Cub Scout or Girl Scout?
What's Girl Scout?
Girl Scout.
Girl Scout.
Really?
Brownies,
Yeah.
maybe.
Because
Brownie,
you were
brownie.
a very young woman.
Brownie.
You were you
I
know
was a kid.
you were a kid. Yeah. So you didn't feel like it was a major adjustment for you to
No, it was fun.
okay. Well, fun's a good word. That's very good. And George, describe your home. Did your parents have celebrate the Jewish holidays? What type of family events?
Yeah, we celebrated the Jewish holidays.
Mhm.
Until he met me, and then he used to come to my
and
mother's.
then we went to Patty's mother for most of it.
That's true. That's true. And did you have a bar mitzvah?
Yes, but I was bar mitzvahed at Temple Bethel in Stanford,
Mm-hmm.
which at the time was on Prospect Street.
Mm-hmm.
We were married there. Our Richard, my son, was bar mitzvahed there,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we currently belong to Temple Sinai in Stanford,
Right.
along with our children.
Was Temple Bethel around? Had it been established already in Stanford when
Yes.
you went there as
Yes.
a child?
Yes.
So it wasn't new. Yeah. Okay. I know that there's some interesting things about your father. I'm going to jump back to that. Rock Rimmon Country Club is a Jewish country club in Stanford, correct? And your father
It's
had
predominantly Jewish.
what your father had something to do with
Yes, he was
Rock
one-
Rimmon. Tell us about
He
that.
was one of the founders of Rock Rimmon. I think there were 9 people because wanted to play golf, but none of the clubs in Stanford, Darien, New Canaan, would take Jews at all. So this group of people purchased property and built a golf course so that Jewish people could become members of the country club.
Do you remember what year approximately that was? What would you guess?
1947, I
So
think.
yeah, that's a pretty good guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty significant. And your parents belonged to Bethel, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. What about Patty? Did your parents were they affiliated with the temple?
Oh, yeah, they belonged to Bethel.
They did.
And the synagogue where my mother's parents went.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they belonged to both.
That's interesting. So did you go to both as a
Well,
child?
She made it. She was able to not go to either one of them.
And I didn't go to Sunday school.
She,
Uh oh.
No, my
How'd you get out of
parents-
that?
My mother used to say, "Do you want to go to Sunday school?" And I'd say, "No."
we didn't give our kids a choice.
That's fun. Did you go to Sunday school, George?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So somebody's a bad person. Somebody's a good person.
No, I used to hear from my contemporaries
That's
that
a-
they didn't like it.
That is very
So
funny.
when my folks said, "Do you want to go?" I'd say, "No."
Well, I can't say I blame you then, right? If your mother gave you a choice, right?
Right.
Right. So tell us about Stanford when you were growing up. It was a much different.
Oh my God.
Community.
Totally different.
How would you describe it, Patty?
I don't know. It was just a very small town.
Well, the downtown was basically, it's before they had chains.
Right.
There were no chain stores. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
all the stores were basically
Family.
local operated stores, individual stores.
Right.
And then as the town grew, a couple of chains came in, but the thing that really changed the town is when they built the town center.
Right. Right.
And that took all the play away from the main downtown.
Yeah.
They didn't give access to downtown Stanford, to Atlantic Street and Bedford Street, and they basically became restaurants, which they are right now.
Now tell me a little bit about Sarner's department store. When that was open, was that were there a lot of mom and pop stores in the area?
There was Greenberg's.
They
was
all
a
opened
large
up.
store.
Franklin's.
What was-
Franklin's was the store.
what kind of stores were they, as you described it?
Well,
Greenberg's was what?
was a children's store.
Okay, what was Frankel's?
Frankel's was a junior department store like Sarner's,
Okay.
very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, and what about Miller's Lilliputian?
Uh,
That was a children's store.
Miller's Lilliputian was a store on Bedford Street, which catered to children,
Mm-hmm.
little upper class, and then with Greenberg's.
Right.
Frank Martin was a men's store, local store from a Stanford family that catered to men's. They had very
Yeah.
nice men's.
Yeah.
All those stores are out of business now as the chains have come in
Right.
and basically put them out.
And the owners probably aren't here anymore. They
No.
probably died.
No,
But were a significant number of these owned by Jewish merchants? Would
Oh,
you
yes.
say? Sounds
most of
like
them,
it.
most of them,
Sounds like it.
most of them.
So tell us about Sarner's department store. Did you work there?
Yes, I worked there for many, many years.
He had no choice.
I worked there while I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I worked there before I went to high school. I worked after school. I made boxes. You had to put the boxes together so the people, when they buy something, you put them in a box, the boxes were put together. I did a lot of work there for many, many years.
Right.
And
But you didn't love it.
not really. And then I got out of the Navy.
Right.
And I was gonna go into the business. I did go into the business, which I hated.
Mm-hmm.
And my father sold the business.
So you had to find a job.
So I had to find a job.
Yeah. So what did you do?
I floundered around a little. I decided, what am I gonna do? I tried my hand at building. I built one house with another guy, and I found it very discouraging. And I got a job on Wall Street as a transfer clerk at a brokerage firm. And I made, I think, $50 or $100 a week.
What year was this? Do you remember?
I think 1957.
So you had a child.
Yes.
You had a 2-year-old. Yeah.
I had a child.
Yeah, and a wife to support. Yeah.
And
You know him.
I
fortunately,
think so.
my father helped me a little
Mm-hmm.
to make ends meet because it was hard. But I was very fortunate, maybe sometimes being at the right place at the right time, and I was able to work my way up in that company
Mm-hmm.
to become a partner in the firm. And then they wanted to negotiate commissions and so forth, and Wall Street was very difficult to make a living. And the firm basically was a small firm, closed. And actually it didn't close, I decided I had to leave because I wasn't making any money to speak of. And I got a job at Bear Stearns,
Well, wait, and we already had a child
yes.
who you know.
That's right. That's right.
I got a job a friend of mine got me an interview at Bear Stearns. I got a job there as a compliance person. And then they made me a partner in 2 years, and I was very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. And I did very well. And that's why I really got involved with some of the charities here in Sanford.
You've been very kind to Stanford. So
Well, I felt.
tell us about some of that,
I
yeah.
felt that I grew up in Stanford, my children grew up in Stanford, my grandchildren grew up in either Stanford or New Canaan, which is sort of Stanford. And I wanted to give something back to the community. And how do you give something back that could benefit anybody in the whole community? Doesn't, religious, color, anything has nothing to do with it, through the hospital. So I got involved with giving things to the hospital, and our first gift was a library in the cancer center. And since then they put me on the board of the hospital, and we had another, when we built the Tully Center, we had a fund drive to raise money, and we wanted to do something for wellness, not for sickness. So we built the gym that's there now, and we've got about over 3,000 members. And it's very well, it's used, and it makes us feel good that the community is getting so much use out of a facility like that.
So Patty, you agreed with all these things?
Huh?
You
Yeah,
agreed.
she-
You agreed with all these
Oh,
things.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm listening.
Yeah. Yeah. So you always stayed in Stanford. You know, you never. I mean, you had a place in New York, but Stanford has been your home.
Stanford is our home, it's always been our home.
Yeah.
We have a winter place in Florida
Right, right,
that we've had for about the last 20 years, but we don't really live there. We spend
Come
time
and go.
there.
right, right. I'll step back a little bit about, are there any observations you can make about what it was like being Jewish growing up when you were much younger Jewish person in the community? You mentioned that Rock Rimmon was formed because Jews couldn't go to other country clubs, but there were any other?
I never
had a problem.
I never had a problem at all. I went all through school. I never had a problem being Jewish. I went to King School. I had no problem being Jewish at all.
And I went all through public schools, my
Right,
choice.
Right,
My
right.
parents used to say to me, do you want to go to Low Haywood, which was
Right.
a private girls'
Right.
school in those days?
Mhm.
I'd say no. So I went all through
But you-
public schools.
And you didn't feel there was any undercurrents of negativity
No.
about being
No,
Jewish?
not at
No.
all.
No. So was your father involved in putting together the JCC also? I can't remember. Did he have anything to do with that? Or no?
No, I was more involved in the JCC.
So tell us about that.
Well, the JCC was on Prospect Street. I and Ben Manger were involved in starting the health club there, which is currently the health club where you attend.
Absolutely.
And we solicited and raised some money. It wasn't a lot of money, but we started that health club
Right,
in one of the floors at the JCC.
right. Well, it's very used, I can tell you that,
Now it is, yeah.
greatly. Did you go to the JCC as a young person, either of you? Did you, when you were younger, did you go?
I didn't.
I went to
The one on Prospect Street, I guess.
religious school at the JCC.
Oh, it was held at the JCC.
Yes, it was part of Gutter Shalom, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long I went there, not for that
I don't
long.
remember that they had a
I also
school.
went to a camp at JCC,
Oh, yeah.
which was in the back of that building.
Hmm.
And they used the property, which was a field. Actually, it's currently where the court system, Stanford Court and the police department is, down in the back.
Yeah.
But
And wasn't it called Camp JC or
it's
something?
called Camp JC, correct.
And you sent your son there. I don't know if you sent your daughter there.
It wasn't there. Camp JC had bought property up the road
Right.
in
Okay.
the country,
Okay.
and then it was a much nicer camp.
Right.
So how do you feel about Stanford? How it's changed over the time you've lived here? What kind of comments do you have about that? Do you think it's been positive, negative?
Well,
Both.
life changes.
Right,
It's,
right.
And Stanford lost a lot of industry. They had Yale in town here.
Mm-hmm.
They had Schick, Razor Company was here.
Okay.
Pitney Bowes was here.
Wow.
These are very good employers,
Right.
and they've all left.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, Connecticut is not really friendly to business, tax-wise, and they're currently losing a lot of companies right now. The only ones they can get to come here, they have to give them humongous tax breaks
Right.
to get them to stay, to come here. When the tax breaks are over, out they go.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. And Patty, you used to comment about what Bedford Street was like.
Oh, what it was? like?
Yeah. Tell us what it was like.
It was all upscale stores,
Yeah.
all family owned.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lovely street of
Had the Friend Shop,
children's stores
Right.
and
Best and
adult
Company had a
stores.
store
Yeah,
there.
Peck and Peck had a store there.
What was Peck and Peck?
Peck and
What kind
Peck
of
was
store?
a New York store of different kind of women's clothes, female clothes.
And what was your father's office downtown? I forget. Where was his office
He was
located?
an oral surgeon.
And where was he
And
located?
he started out on, what's the street? It's part of Main Street.
Okay.
And it was partly a bank building, but he was in an office building.
Okay.
And he was an oral surgeon.
Right.
And I don't remember what I did yesterday, but he was on the 8th floor.
Really?
You know, an elevator building.
Sure. And did he stay there his entire career? Was that where his office
Yeah,
was?
but at the end, he moved to an office, I think, on Bedford
He
Street.
did.
Yeah. I don't know why.
And I think they changed the building.
Yeah.
And the bank was using more of the building.
Yeah.
Originally, that building housed the Stanford Museum, had a floor in the building.
Oh,
When they started the
really?
Yeah.
Stanford Museum, it was in that building.
And where? I'm sorry. Where was this again? Location?
It's right around with the old town
It was
hall.
300
Yeah, where the old town hall is?
Main
Yeah.
Street,
Yeah.
yeah.
behind the town hall, next to the
And
town
now
hall.
the museum is large.
Right, right. You're talking about the museum on High Ridge Road at the juncture of High Ridge and
Yes.
Schofield
Yeah.
Town,
Well,
correct?
they didn't have animals downtown.
Well, obviously not.
Before the museum went there, it went up on, outside of Glenbrook. I forgot the name of the
Okay.
street, way up there. And then it moved to where it is now, and now it's very large.
Yeah. Yeah. And you tell a great story about playing football in high school on the property where Agoda Shalom is. Am I
Yes.
Yeah,
correct?
King's
Tell
School.
tell us that story. Now, was King School there?
King
Yeah.
School was there, it was in a home, a
Okay.
house. And then went from kindergarten through 12th grade.
Mhm.
Vernon Dwelly was the headmaster and owner of the school.
Mhm.
And we had a football field, actually it's in the same piece of property where Go to Shalom is now,
Right.
except it's slight uphill.
I remember that.
The football field was only 90 yards long instead of 10. And they'd have to move the ball back 10 yards before you could score a touchdown. However, in running with the ball, I was playing fullback at the time. I was weighed about 200 pounds. And running downhill against people were getting hurt. And one of the other teams had a large, big guy playing fullback. So they had to change the rules that you couldn't play in the backfield if you weighed over 180 pounds
That's funny.
because people would get hurt.
That's funny.
It was an interesting way to play football.
Challenging, huh? And also you have a kind of an interesting story about how you got to Dartmouth. Now, how did that happen? How did you decide on Dartmouth?
They decided for me.
Who decided for you?
The headmaster, the headmaster of the school, Vernon Dwelly. We only had 9 people in our graduating class. 3 of them were accepted to Dartmouth.
How did that happen?
2 went, 'cause I never heard of Dartmouth, frankly, before that, to speak of. And 2 of us went to Dartmouth.
Mhm.
The other one went to Hamilton. The other one went to Hamilton on his own.
A little different than today.
Yeah, much different.
It was only a few years ago.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Oh, how did you meet? Do you? I've always known that you've known each other, but do you have any remembrance of how you met?
I don't.
Not really. I think what happened in those days, people would have Sweet 16 parties.
Right.
And the boys and the girls, they'd have a party someplace, family would.
Mhm.
And we probably met in one of those things, I would imagine.
We don't know how we
I
met.
don't know.
I think that's very funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it just happened.
It just happened. It was meant to be. Any other reflections on your lives or Stanford that you want to share? Anything about your families?
Stanford's been a great community to live in, I thought. You know, it's a great location, convenient to New York City. I
Right.
still work.
Right.
I commute
That's right.
3 days a week to New York City.
Yeah.
I work with JP Morgan now, more or less to keep my sanity.
It's good for your mind.
I see too many people who retire at my age
Right.
and they get brain dead.
Right.
So that's the main reason I work.
And you still go to Rock Room and enjoy playing golf, correct?
Yeah, I don't play as much as I used to
Right,
play.
right. But you're still an active person.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've been very kind to the community. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Good.
This has been great.
Oh, good.
And